people fall into this trap where by talking about their goals, they almost feel like they've already succeeded in them.
It isn't embarrassing to be like, oh, I have this, I'm going to tell them about this goal. It does make you feel like, damn, I really let that person down. How did you stick through your goal, even though, sometimes it might have felt hopeless?
What's up, Mahim?
What's up, Alex?
What's up, self-started viewers?
Welcome back to the Self-Started Podcast, episode 9. And as you can see, we have a very special episode today.
We're in the same room.
We are in the same room. For the first time since we started this self-started project, we are in the same room making a piece of content together.
Yeah, it's some exciting stuff. And
Exciting.
we have an exciting topic today, too. Today,
we're talking about New Year's resolutions, specifically resolutions for the turn of the decade.
2020 vision.
Clarity, guys. Clarity.
All right. Yeah, so today, let's talk about resolutions, and I guess I want to start off with how do people execute on their goals, and I guess why a lot of people don't execute on their goals. I think that's a good segue into the topic of New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, so I think any conversation about New Year's resolution has to start with the fact that motivation, which people are filled with whenever it comes to January 1st hitting the calendar, that is great for getting you started with the goal, but it's definitely not going to get you all the way.
Yeah, there's definitely no problem with New Year's resolutions being motivated with it's like the new year. Everyone's super into it, and that's a good thing, and that can get people started. But like you said, it's not the end all be all.
Yeah, and if you look at the classic example of people who go to the gym, like you go to any gym in January, it's packed. It's absolutely packed.
Oh, yeah.
So many people have the resolution of, I want to lose X amount of weight this year. I want to get that six pack. I want to look shredded. And they'll go into the gym because they know that, all right, that's what people who go after that goal, that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But then you quickly see 3 weeks later, the gym is almost empty because all those people's motivations are completely gone. All the hype that they built up from that initial novelty of being like, oh, this is a new year.
That new me.
Yeah, new year, new me. That it doesn't last all year, guys. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, where you have the excitement of being like, all right, this is finally my year. This is my decade.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people tomorrow will start being like, oh yeah, this is my decade. Things are going to be so different. But let me tell you guys, easier said than done.
Yeah. You definitely hit the nail on the head. When people make these goals and they're highly motivated, they don't take the actionable steps and a game plan for what's going on. So let's you kind of dive into the gym example. People say, yeah, I want six-pack abs. I want to be in the best shape of my life. It's all right, man, how you gonna do that? Well, you got to go to the gym. You got to eat right. Okay, what does that entail? Eating right means, all right, I can't eat junk food. I shouldn't be drinking that much. I should cut out sugars. I should eat more vegetables and fruit.
Yep.
Going to the gym, what does that mean? Are you just going to go to the gym and, run on the treadmill?
Yeah.
You could, but you should have all right, 3 days a week, I'll run. And the other 2 days, I'll lift.
Yeah.
What kind of lifts are you doing?
Yeah.
What kind of goal do you want to visualize?
Yeah.
You want six-pack abs, but six-pack abs doesn't come just from going to the gym.
Yeah, and it's also not measurable. You can't really say you can see, but it's not something you can really see oh, I'm making progress towards. You maybe something like a weight goal that's more measurable, and where you could be oh, I can tell that, oh, I'm making progress.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a big part of it too, where for your goals, you want something that's measurable, right? So saying I'm going to go to the gym these days. If you don't go on these days and you don't do the work, you clearly are not hitting your goals.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to say that people won't falter, where life kind of hits you sometimes, and that's okay. The point of a New Year's resolution is that you want to make a change in your life, and it's about the consistency that comes with it is what's important.
Yeah, there's a motivational quote that I used to really like from Rocky, where he says that it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And what that means in this context is, like Alex said, life is going to get in the way. And there's just none of us have control over everything that goes on in our lives.
Yeah.
And often the things that we don't have control over can derail us, especially when it comes to building a habit. So it's important to be able to say that, okay, this derailment happened. I accept that it happened, but now I'm not going to let that, I'm not going to let that bleed into the rest of my year. I'm going to get back to where I was before the derailment, get back into going to the gym consistently, and making sure that even though my chain was broken, I'm able to rebuild my momentum quickly.
Yeah. And that's a good part of, I guess, achieving your goals. It's remembering why you started. And, it's cliche. People say it all the time, but it's important because, just saying like, I want a six packs up for this year. What about next year? What about the next 50 or like 60 or whatever amount of years that you have to live? If you're choosing to have a healthier lifestyle, it's a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
So, and I guess another thing is that motivation is, it's fleeting. Everyone is like high on motivation for the new year, new year, new me, 2020 vision, but that's not how it works. People love talking about their goals and saying like, I'm going to be at this point in my life and at the end of 2020 and 2021, like everything's going to be great. And people fall into this trap where by talking about their goals, they almost feel like they've already succeeded in them, which isn't the case.
Yeah, I think that, it is, like I said, it's easier said than done. And a lot of the time, the emotional benefit you get from just saying you're going to do something can make it give you the illusion of like, oh, I'm basically already this great guy that like has achieved all his goals.
Yeah.
But when you take an objective look at it, when you look at yourself in the mirror, when you take a hard, honest look at what's going on, you see that no, it's not the case. Like you might have felt good about having these goals, but are you really achieving them? Do you care about the feeling of achieving it more and like the idea of it, or do you want the actual results? Yeah, that's what a lot of people have to really grapple with when it comes to going after a New Year's resolution and executing on it.
Yeah, because these goals, everyone likes the idea, but the idea takes hard work, and that's really what we're gonna try to get at. I guess, what are like some other ways to, I guess, hit your goals this turn of the decade?
So I think one way is, like we briefly mentioned before, when you break down your goal into actionable steps, you can build momentum.
Yes.
And I think momentum is really a key word when it comes to building habits, because if you can get a chain of actions going, it becomes exponentially easier down the line to go from, let's say, your first 3 days to your next 3 days. Those next 3 days will be easier because, all right, I already know what it's like to do 3 days of work. Now I can maybe push myself to do like 5 more days. And then from 5 days, you go to 7 days. And quickly you see these numbers start to add up. And because you have that momentum, that chain that didn't break, it's easy. It's easier to continue that flow.
Yeah, definitely. I think another thing that plays into it is that you make realistic goals with yourself. So this is a self-awareness type of deal where, if you've never ran before in your life, you haven't ran consistently, and you say, this year I want to run the marathon. It's like, well, it's a big goal. It's a big goal. But if you've never run long distance before, or if you're struggling, like doing maybe like 1 mile or 5 miles or 10 miles, then you might not reach that goal at the end of 2020. And that's okay. It's something that you work towards, but you got to realize that like, if you're not at a certain level, there's a possibility that you won't reach the goal. And that shouldn't discourage you for having a lofty goal, because I think you kind of also have to be a little ambitious in what you have, because if you set it too low, then you succeed and you're like, yeah, great, I'm done, like I'm great.
Yeah.
And that's also not kind of counterintuitive for changing your lifestyle.
Yeah, you don't want it to be so achievable that it's not really meaningful.
Yes.
And doesn't really have much impact.
Yes.
But at the same time, like you said, you don't want it to be so like out of this world that it's just like not realistic at all to hit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what you end up seeing is that there's like this sweet spot between too ambitious and not ambitious enough, where you want to do something, you want to set goals that you can realistically do, but also challenge yourself each time. So you're always progressing. And so if you can think of it as like a graph where you have the level of ambition on one end, so like you have like 0 and then like in 100, and it's going to be more of like
we'll throw a picture up.
Yeah, we'll throw a picture up where it's going to be more of like an upside down U shape, where the best results will come from somewhere in the middle rather than at the extreme ends.
Yeah.
So I think beside that, I would say what's helped me historically is having an accountability partner.
Yeah.
You have any experience with that?
Yeah. I mean, my accountability partner is sitting right across from me.
Yeah. I mean, that accountability, that's something that comes into play when we're doing stuff for self-started, or even if we have differing goals that aren't related, but we still want to keep each other accountable for, like, let's say if you want to have like a weight loss goal, and I had like one about making videos.
Yeah,
I know that I believe that we in high school or like in college we
did do this.
We had something like this set up, and I felt like that did help, because the reason why accountability, specifically social accountability, is powerful is you don't want to let people down, and especially not your friends. Yeah, it is kind of like, it isn't embarrassing to be like, oh, I have this, I'm going to tell them about this goal, and and now they can see every single time I do it or I don't do it. And by the end of it, if they see that, oh, you really haven't done what you said you would do, I personally feel like, they kind of lose a little respect for you.
Yes.
And you do, and it does make you feel like, damn, I really let that person down. Which is why I think it works, because you don't want to let people down, and especially people that you value and people whose opinion you value.
Yeah, definitely. And I think part of it is, there's also like a fun aspect to it, being like having two people work on their goals, whether they be related or not, is a fun way to, one, I guess, interact with your friends and family, and two, it'll keep you more on track.
Yeah, I think the collaboration aspect of it is really good, especially if you're doing something that's tedious in nature.
Yes.
If you can find those pockets of joy, that really makes it, a lot more bearable. And I think a lot of people could use something like that. And I think that's why that's why things like meetup groups are online that are becoming
forums,
increasingly popular, where people have these goals and they have a community and support group that they can rely on, and to make sure that they're keeping track. And I've seen these groups actually work really well, and you see a lot of success stories that come out of these groups, and in turn that inspires other people, and you kind of get like this feedback loop of positive momentum for the entire group.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
I guess one final note for achieving your goals. You want to make it obviously realistic, but you also want to make it as frictionless as possible. And when I say that, I mean making your goal as easy to achieve as possible, because it's pretty hard to go like from never going to the gym and then being like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym every single day. Doesn't usually work that way. So for something like that, maybe like, oh, you go to bed in your gym clothes, and then when you wake up, you're primed, you're ready. That's
actually something that I found in my personal experience. When I feel that resistance of going to the gym, I find that just changing into my gym clothes and like wearing like a tank top and like shorts, that for some reason that just gets you in the right mental state of like, oh, this is what I wear when I work out, so I should be working out right now. And that kind of tricks your brain in some way of thinking that like, oh yeah, well, it's just natural for me to work out right now.
It's that identity. It's like I'm wearing clothes to work out, so I will go work out.
Yeah, exactly. So doing something like that is one example of where, removing that resistance, making it easy as possible to do those hard tasks that ultimately lead up to your goals. There's one example right there. I think another example that I know of is like, let's say you're trying to practice a guitar, right? One thing you can do to make it easier and to learn like songs or play more consistently is you have your guitar right in the middle of your living room that you'll see every single day. So you can just easily just pick it up and start playing. Yeah. It's rather than
it's a cue.
Yeah. It's like a mental cue where if you have to like put it back into like your case every single day, take it out under your bed, you're adding additional steps that makes it harder, and you don't want to do that. You want to make it as frictionless as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have any other examples that you could think of that might be useful to people?
So something that I've been doing more recently is, and this is actually one of my other resolutions, we'll get into that. I've been journaling every day, and for me, what prompts me to do that is I have my journal on my desk. So like I go on my computer like every day, but my journal is always in that place. And so I will write something down before I actually use my computer. And I've been consistent for like 2 weeks or so, and I think I'm going to keep it up. So something like that is a personal thing that I've done.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of one of the things that I realized was causing resistance for my productivity was the whole process of deciding which task should I do first.
Oh yeah, this decision fatigue
decision fatigue is something that I have probably spent a lot of time, like many hours on trying to figure out like, all right, what can I do to actually minimize the impact of decisions on my day, and like how do I stop it from slowing me down?
Build a routine, right?
Yeah. So one thing I found that worked for me is I basically would have a spreadsheet with a bunch of tasks, and I essentially created a grading system for each task in terms of priority, importance, urgency, and then you kind of have like this value that you add to the task. So like your top task will have like a tier 1 value, let's say, and your bottom task is like a tier 4. What I would do then is I would sort all my tasks automatically by tier. So then all the top tasks that I know that are the most important would go straight to the top. And by doing that, I would know exactly like, all right, this is the number 1 task I need to be doing. I don't have to decide that like cognitively. That's all laid out in the mathematics of whatever algorithm, quote unquote, that I'm using to devise the value system.
Automating your life.
Yeah, you're basically automating that decision. And that's one way that I removed the friction aspect of making that decision every day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I will show that to you later. I'll
put a link in the description below. All right, I think we've talked a lot about achieving our goals and why some people don't achieve their resolutions. And before we hop into the next topic, I want to kind of give a mindset thought that I had. Going into 2020, it's a turn of a decade. Yeah. And that's pretty amazing, because do you remember what you were thinking in 2010 and like what you thought the next decade would be?
Man, I couldn't even, in 2010, I couldn't even fathom like having to write the date out and have it be like, 2016 or 2017, 2018. Yeah, exactly. The idea of writing 2020, unfathomable. I think we were in like 8th, maybe like.
We were in middle school.
Yeah, we were in middle school.
Yeah.
10 years ago. And so you can imagine that was a completely different time in our lives. Like I just moved to a whole new town. Where middle school is just inherently like an awkward phase of everyone's life. Like I'm sure you can attest to that.
Yes.
So the things that are in the forefront of your mind in middle school are like man, I hope, does that girl like me? And like, you know, oh man, I hope
your priorities are different.
Yeah. I hope my tests, you know, I hope I do well on my Regents exam or whatever.
Yeah. So like for the people that are in university or going into university or just out of it, you know, in your 20s, just think about that. You have this opportunity to really change how this next decade is going to be and who you want to be in the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You have the opportunity to be able to think like that and execute on that goal. So not just planning for 2020 to 2021, but planning for 2020 to 2030.
Yeah.
So that's just something I wanted to mention. But yeah, another topic I wanted to touch on is, did you succeed on your 2019 goals? Why or why not?
Okay, so if we're talking about 2019 goals, so there's three I want to bring up.
Yeah, and
you know they were all successful to varying degrees. So one off the bat successful one was getting a girlfriend. That's something that I've been working towards for a few years, and it's not really like I ever set it out to be like, yeah, oh, 2019 is the year, but like, you know, it's always something that like you're trying to work on and like ultimately get, and this was the year for me. So I was able to meet someone and we've been together for like 9 months, so that worked out. And yeah, so that's a success.
I would give that a check mark.
Yeah, that's a check mark. But another resolution that went well, I guess depending on how you frame well, is I quit my job at Jump Cut, and a lot of people would be like, oh, that seems like you know, quitting your job, being unemployed, that doesn't seem like a good thing. Why would you want to do that? But the reason I quit was to pursue my real ambition of creating a business out of YouTube and creating YouTube content.
Yeah.
And I came to a point where I realized that, you know, it might be a tough decision to, you know, give up the stability and like the fun of working at the startup that I worked at, mm-hmm. and not being able to see the coworkers that I did, that I've developed relationships with for 2+ years at that point. But, you know, it was ultimately a sacrifice that I had to make if I was going to, you know, move the needle.
Yeah, definitely.
And that leads into my third resolution, which did not go as well, which was trying to make YouTube my full-time replacement income for what I was making at Jump Cut. Mm-hmm. The reason I think that didn't work is, I mean, it's primarily because, you know, building any sort of business, it's going to take time. You know, it's not,
success doesn't come overnight.
It doesn't come overnight. But at the same time, I do feel like I definitely could have worked harder, worked smarter, with more speed, mm-hmm. particularly. I think one of my derailers were trying to have so many different content ideas where you kind of get overwhelmed of choice and you don't really execute on any of them.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're thinking like, oh, maybe I should do this because this is a better idea, but then what about this thing? I think this can go more viral, or this will appeal to more people.
It's definitely tough starting out.
Yeah, you know? Especially when you're starting out, until you experience that snowball effect of where things start to pick up. It's also discouraging, you know, like, you know, yeah. when you don't see the numbers that you think you should get, or you're not getting the type of response that you think your work yields, you know, it is a little demoralizing. But with that said, I'm not giving up on that goal. That is going to be my primary one for 2020, and we'll get into 2020 resolutions. Yeah. But I do want to say that because I went through the process of trying to go through this, build this YouTube thing, like I'm definitely approaching my 2020 version of it in a smarter, more efficient way, knowing what I did wrong and how I can fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me know about what your 2019 resolutions were.
I actually only had one. So going into 2019, I had just come back from my study abroad in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. And it was a great time, but I was also a little stressed out because I was graduating that summer. And because of that, I was going on interviews, I was like doing phone calls at like 3 or 4 a.m. Hong Kong time just to match the USA time.
I remember you were stressed, man.
Yeah. And, I didn't get a job offer at that time. But that was something I really wanted to work towards because I wanted a job right after college. I wanted to kind of validate my degree and say, you know what, like I actually worked hard. I actually got a job that I'm like satisfied with. And to me, that's what I wanted to do. And I did it, like that's pretty cool. But it wasn't easy. I put out over like 300 applications. I interviewed with multiple companies, like in person coding tests. I did hours of studying required for these interviews. I read up on Glassdoor about all these companies. I read up on interview tips and stuff like that. I practiced a lot. Mm-hmm. I actually had started the summer before during my internship. Yeah. I was like looking for full time, and it was discouraging. I reached out to you. There were times where I'm like, man, am I just doomed to be unemployed? Like, God damn, it was hard.
Yeah.
And what the steps that I took was really just putting in the work, studying, putting out the applications, knowing that this is something I want, something I want to do, and reaching out to my friends for like referrals and stuff like that, getting the experience of interviewing with different companies and different cultures and kind of learning my way around the game of interviews for your first job out of college. That's something that all the steps that I took, and we made it. So I'm proud to say that 2019 pretty successful on that resolution.
Yeah. So for the viewers, because that is a great achievement that a lot of people would like to say that, especially if they're coming out of college, that they will ultimately achieve by the end of 2020.
Yeah.
You talked about what you did, but what was going through your mind when things weren't going well, and you're sending all these applications. I remember you talking about in a different podcast that there were nights where you just wake up in a cold sweat because of like how much anxiety that this caused you. Like, how did you stick through your goal, even though sometimes it might have felt hopeless?
Yeah. So for like the first job out of college, you're kind of looking for that validation to say, be like, I'm going to take a risk on you and say like, you can do this job. And really the way that I kind of dealt with the stress that came with it, I guess, was finding the support group. Like I had my friends, I had my girlfriend, I had my family. Mm-hmm. They saw I was stressed. I told them I was stressed. And, seeing my friends that are also were in CS, they were very supportive. They're like, it's not easy. They had gone through the same process. And they were encouraging and kind of seeing, a little bit of jealousy as well, I guess, where I saw other people working at these great companies, doing all these great things. And I'm like, why can't that be me? Mm-hmm. And then I guess part of my persona is that I'm very stubborn about things. So I'm like, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to be at the same point and just kind of get to that same goal of where these people are at. I want to be. And there were downtimes. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I was working hard all the way through. Mm. There's definitely times where I kicked back. I just was done and burnt. But it's really just remembering why you're doing this goal and keeping at it, knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel if you persist enough. And a lot of times that's what most goals are. You will have a long period of time where you don't feel like you're moving forward. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you want to quit. And bringing back to the quote, that you said about Rocky, it really isn't about if you get knocked down or not. It's about if you get up. So,
yeah. Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up that, the inevitable fact that no matter what your goal is, oftentimes there is that period of failure that will make it feel like, oh, you're just destined for failure.
Yeah.
Like forever. And one of the people I used to watch on YouTube put it in a really like I like the way he framed it. He called it the pain period. Mm-hmm. No matter what goal you're doing, there's always that pain period of trying to develop a new skill, attain a certain position, reach a certain level of mastery.
Yes.
That it's just, there's always going to be that learning curve and that process that you have to go through. And it's going to be a tough process. It's going to honestly, it can be tormenting. But like Rocky said, it's the people that ultimately get those things, the people that ultimately become great are the ones that get through that pain period.
Yeah. No one great had success handed to them. Or most people, like 99% of people that you would look to as a role model, they worked for it, and it wasn't handed to them, and they went through the period of this sucks.
Yeah,
but it's about persisting and always pushing the needle.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what are your 2020 resolutions, man?
So on to 2020. So my personal one, like I mentioned before, is to get my YouTube channel to a point where it is a self-sustaining source of income for me.
Yeah.
And I could, if I didn't do any other, if I didn't do anything else for money, then it would still support me. Like that's the goal. Mm-hmm. And based on what I learned in 2019, the way I want to achieve that is through making content that's more try to focus more on creating content that's more entertaining and really unexpected, things that people in the hockey niche aren't used to seeing. And
shout out to Mahim Hockey.
Thank you. Things that the people are not used to seeing, so that they're like, oh, this is like a unique channel. This is like interesting content.
Yeah,
I want to engage with this, and I want people to really feel like, oh, this is like a completely different experience from what I'm used to traditionally consuming in this niche. That's one part of it, and another part of it is just pumping out, just doing more, and like really being in that mindset of like, all right, let me just, no matter what happens, I can at least say that I'm taking as much action as possible.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's kind of holding yourself to that standard.
Yep, absolutely. What about you?
I have a lot.
All right, let's get into it.
I have a lot. Well, I have like 5 core resolutions. Mm-hmm. Starting off, I want to kind of deepen my relationship with people. Mm-hmm. So when I say that, I mean with my current relationships, whether that be with my friends and my family, because I felt that sometimes I get lost in terms of, I will, for example, I'll see someone, it's like, long time no see, what's going on, like, let's catch up. Mm-hmm. But I rather be at that approach where, I want to actually keep tabs on them more consistently.
Yeah.
I want to kind of reach out more. I want to provide value to my friends and family. I also want to explore more. So I want to meet more people, whether that be through like meetups or conferences, and just kind of be more sociable, and also have meaningful relationships with that. I don't need a lot. I just want something meaningful. Mm-hmm. Number 2, I want to focus on my physical health. So my profession isn't exactly the most athletic type. Yeah.
Shout out to software engineers.
Yeah. It's a lot of mental gymnastics, but you're sitting basically all day. And that's not good for your health.
Not good for your posture. Not good for
a
lot of things.
Exactly. So classic gym example. I want to go to the gym 5 days a week. I want to cut down and gain muscle. And my target goal is 155. I weigh 165 right now. I also want to go to the gym 5 days a week. And when I say that, I want to lift 3 days. I have like a little routine that I do, and I want to do cardio and calisthenics the other 2 days. And I still want to move around on the weekends. So basically always be moving.
Yeah.
I want to drink more water. I want to eat less fried food. I want to eat less junk food. Not to say that I won't, but I want to make the conscious decision to say, like, you know what, if I have a choice and it's just me, then I won't eat this and I'll choose the healthier option.
Yeah. Just be more moderate about.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yeah. You know, because it's kind of weird to think, but these habits that you start now should carry on to the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be at an age of like 65 where I'm retiring, and I'm in terrible physical condition where I can't enjoy myself.
Yeah. These are actually, that's a good point, dude. These are actually the years where you want to build the habits that carry you through your old age, because you don't want to be that old guy that just like looks like crap on the inside and the outside. Yeah. And it really is avoidable if you set in the right habits. Yeah, exactly. So I want to take my physical health more seriously. And I'll probably make a video to, I guess, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months in, stuff like that. Yeah, that'll be good. I'm sure people will appreciate the updates. Yeah. Accountability. There you go. Accountability. Number 3 is my mental health. So, you know, I don't know if I'm seen as an outgoing guy or a good guy or stuff like that. I think it's more of the way that I see myself and how I interact with my thoughts in my head. You know, I can stress myself out a lot. I can be super stubborn about things. I can make myself unhappy. I want to make it a point to make myself happy and to learn how to cope with the thoughts that come in my head. So with something like that, I've begun practicing meditation, using that app called Headspace. Shout out to my friend that gave me a family subscription for that. Been using it every day. So it's kind of teaching me how to breathe and give myself permission to think and feel the way I'm feeling, but always come back to like a state of, all right, things are all right. So working through my mental troubles. And in addition with that, I have been practicing a lot more self-reflection. So I'm making it a point. We mentioned this earlier, where I want to journal every day, whether that be writing 1 line or several pages. Yeah. I want to document how I'm feeling, document what I did, and be able to look back and say, you know what, we've come a long way. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Take care of your mental health and physical health, guys, because you only have one life. True. I guess number 4 would be my human capital and like my mental capacity. So when I say that, I mean, I want to learn a lot of things. I want to read more. I want to read at least, I guess, 26 books this year. So I want to read a book every 2 weeks. And to do that, actionable steps, I want to keep a book by my bedside and pick it up before I go to bed. Do you have any particular skills or topics that you're trying to read about, particularly, or nonfiction? Fiction? Yes. So I typically read nonfiction, and it's like skill-oriented things. And honestly, I think I'm taking the wrong approach to that. Some other YouTubers that I've seen that also read a lot, you know, they read what they want to read, and they give themselves the permission to say, like, I don't like this book, I'm going to put it down. Stop. Yeah. And they read fiction because it's, you know, it's entertaining. You don't actually have to like really focus in on what it is, but that's also kind of a topic that I'm interested in. So I take interest in self-development. I take interest in stuff like finance. So other things I want to learn more about, I want to learn more about technology. So whether that be a new framework, a new tech stack, stuff like that. I want to learn more about finance. I want to be able to invest my money wisely, understand how markets move, and kind of give that advice to viewers and my friends. And I guess lastly, I want to I want to learn Chinese, so Mandarin specifically. Something that I've always felt was I wish I learned Chinese when I was younger, and I never had that opportunity. And it's definitely not
I think this is more of like a 2020 to 2030 goal, because I'm pretty sure that it's going to take me a long time to actually get to a point where I'm going to say I'm fluent in Chinese. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that. I just want to take the steps to start learning and to, push the needle.
That's what it's about, guys. Yeah. Pushing that needle.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And finally, I guess I want to learn more about YouTube. So I've been enjoying the process from where we started on just like Skype videos to kind of almost now we're in person and we actually have a mic and we're filming. And so another goal is YouTube, where I want to have self-started reach 1,000 subscribers. I want us to be YouTube partnered. So what that means is we basically can run advertisements. We have 40,000 watch hours and 1K subscribers.
I think it was 4,000.
Something like that.
4,000. And then we get that for our goal is to ultimately make a grand total of 1 penny at least.
Yes. Yeah. You know why? Because that validates what we've done and kind of puts us going. We've gone through that journey of actually being able to succeed on that. And that's something I want to see by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And the way,
let's not understate it. This was just like a project. Self-started started as just like this project that we're like, you know what?
Let's
just do it, man. Yeah. Like we'll just start it. And you know what? We started out hot. We were like, oh man, we're gonna make daily content. We're gonna make 3 vlogs a week.
Yeah.
That did not last long, as you can tell by our backlog. But it was an important first step. Like it's kind of like we had like a New Year's resolution where we came in hot. We're thinking we're like, all right, we're gonna make so much. We're gonna do so much, and like from going from nothing to doing so much. But through that process, we were like, all right, we got to dial it back. We got to make it sustainable.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We have to make this realistic. We have to make it something that we have to, remove as much resistance as possible, make it easy as possible to do it. And luckily, like we've been, experimenting, and you can obviously tell with like the different formats the podcast has taken, the different types of content, short form, long form, all that has come from that initial burst of an idea to make something. And then so getting that penny is really going to symbolize like, all right, this all led up to something.
Make 2 pennies, one for me, one for you.
We can't split a penny.
Yeah. So that is my like learning capital goal. And my final goal, this is not just strictly 2020, this is not even strictly 2020 to 2030
life goal.
This is a life goal, and this is something I want to take more seriously. I kind of want to find who I am, and I think I've come a decent way already with that over my 4 years of university. But I want to kind of define what kind of character I am, what type of values that I hold, what type of principles I follow, what kind of standard that I set for myself that I will not go back on. And when I say something like that, I mean that I want to be this kind of person that former me would look up to. Mm-hmm. So that would be someone that executes on their goals. That would be someone that takes this puts in the work and takes this risk with self-started. That would be someone that is Ray Dalio said it, to find out what is true and what is right. Mm-hmm. And I want to be able to provide for the people around me, whether they be my friends or the strangers. Mm-hmm. I want to say, you know what, I maybe changed your life, something like that. And if I can reach one person, that's good enough for me. I guess it comes with it. I want to also be more well-spoken. I want to have less of a temperament. I want to be more engaged with people. There's like side goals of stuff that I want a certain aesthetic. I want to be like very minimal in my life and kind of put more emphasis on people than things, and travel more and take experiences from around the world, and be that cultured type of person.
Yeah. So be your own role model.
Yeah, exactly. So there's this persona that I will always be striving for. And, I might not even realize when I hit it.
Yeah.
Without looking back. So that is a life goal, but we're starting in 2020.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Well said, man. Well said.
Yeah. Those are my goals.
Yeah.
Did you have any more?
Now it kind of makes me feel like, oh, maybe I should have said some more. But yeah, I mean, I think the overarching goal, like, I mean, the YouTube one is the big one.
Yes.
And I'm really, I really want to be all in on that. I have some side goals, like trying to gain my weight up to 160 pounds.
Yeah.
But I would say like the overarching thing, and it's kind of related to what you said about being like your own role model, is something that Joe Rogan is famous for saying and for quoting, and it's the idea of being the hero of your own movie.
Yes.
And being the guy that, like, you know, the type of character that you look up to, and like when you see on the big screen, like that's like the kind of guy you're like, wow, I really want to be that kind of person.
Yes.
And I think throughout the life I like to build will come from a culmination of these sub goals in different areas of my life: financially, relationships, health, style, career, all these things, and the different sub goals beneath all those things, and how those all play out. Like, those things will ultimately add up to becoming that grander version of yourself that you want to one day become, right?
Yes.
So for me, that's something that I'll share. That's something that, actually, you know what, I'll share right now. It's something that I call the vision.
2020 vision.
This is a document that I've been working on for the last like 3-4 years, which basically encapsulates like the type of achievements, the type of life that I want to build towards.
Yeah.
And so basically that document is kind of like my the Evernote document. Shout out to Evernote. That's basically kind of like the North Star figure, where I can be like, all right, are my actions aligning with this North Star, this hero figure, or are they not? And that does help sift out decisions of like, should I or should I not do certain things? And I think I'll make more content about my vision later in different episodes, but that's basically what I surround my goals with. So
hashtag vision, man.
Hashtag vision. 2020 vision. Get those eyes checked. If any optometrists want to sponsor us, now's your chance.
Yeah. All right. And I think that's all we have for today.
I think that is all we have for today. But, you know, the conversation doesn't stop here, guys. Let us know in the comments, what are your 2020 resolutions? We want to see what's on your mind.
Yeah.
And that'll also help us come up with some content ideas that you really want to see, and what can actually help you along the way. And like Alex said, if we can just help one, if it just reaches one person and really makes an impact, it's worth it for us.
Yeah. If you made it this far, like, subscribe.
Yeah.
Hit that bell icon.
Yeah.
But without further ado, Happy New Year, guys.
All right. Take care, guys. Happy New Year's. And
we'll see you next time.
in the next decade.